Whoa, hope everybody's staying warm. It's kind of cold here in central Arkansas. Haven't made a video about motorcycling for a while. Been doing my bicycle project over the last month and a half, 2 months. And hope you like those videos. And as you see in the title, well, I'm not really sure what the title is going to be. Right here in my mind, I'm thinking that the title of this video is Harley-Davidson Rubs in the State of Motorcycling. That's a lot to cover. What is the state of motorcycling? You know, I just watched a video by Riding in the Ozarks Mike there. He's got a real great video channel, and it's really into Harley-Davidson, dedicated Harley-Davidson rider. And I'll put a link to his channel down below. But this morning he just put out a video about the financial situation of Harley-Davidson. I'll put a link to that too, which is pretty interesting. But this is not really about what Mike had to say, but it's about what I read all the time about people talking about Harley-Davidson not thinking about their core customer and complaining that that they price their bikes too high. They're not thinking about what the core customer wants, and a lot of these people are people that are not really Harley-Davidson riders, or they're the type of Harley-Davidson rider that doesn't go out and buy new motorcycles. You know, people like me, you know, myself, I have no complaint about the Harley-Davidson Motor Company. You know, they're doing what they've always done, and that's manufacturing pretty good motorcycles, and it's a high-end motorcycle aimed at people that's got money. And people that got money are usually the people that have worked hard and become successful. A lot of other people that really love the Harley-Davidson brand, that ride Harleys, probably a mass majority of people like me, are people that buy their motorcycles used, you know. And we like Harley-Davidson, the history of Harley-Davidson, and it's a great story. But it's a fallacy to think that Harley-Davidson ever, you know, was thinking about just the average man out there. It's just not true, you know. Because what is the average man or woman out there that are into riding motorcycles, you know? The average working person, the average young person. You know, a lot of people complain Harley-Davidson doesn't do anything to bring young riders in, you know, that they overprice their bikes and things like that. In reality, they don't overprice their bikes, because what they offer today are well-made machines, really at a fair price. And when you start, you know, people says, well, I can remember back in the day. Well, back in the day, you know, I can remember when I bought my very first brand new Harley-Davidson. And it was my second Harley-Davidson. My first Harley-Davidson was a late 40s Survey car. It was a project I never was able to complete. I was in the Army at the time, stationed in Alabama. Got orders to go to Germany, so I sold that Survey car project to a fellow soldier that, you know, that was, I think he was in the National Guard, and we were in training at the time in AIT, and I sold it to him, and he took that Survey car to Georgia, and I hope he, you know, that he got it, you know, fixed it up and got it on the road and did whatever he wanted with that project. But you know, so I did, you know, after I sold that, I got my, you know, I had more orders for Germany, and I went to Germany, and I saved up my money. You know, I got there in December, and I saved through the winter, and spring came, and for my birthday, I went and bought me a, you know, through the PX, through the, you know, the military sales Harley-Davidson had through the PX at the time. I bought me a brand new 1979 XLCH 1000, and that was in June 1978. And as you know, people keep saying that Harley, you know, they were cheaper back then and such and everything. Well, I sit down and did some numbers, you know. By the way, I still got, you know, I still got my bill of sale for that bike. And I sit down and did the numbers, you know. And in June 1978, I paid $3,300 for the lowest cost Sportster that was offered that year, and that was the XLCH. In today's dollars, that's $13,183.50 when adjusted for inflation. And that is, you know, compared to the lowest priced Harley Sportster today, which is the Iron 883. It, you know, the base price is $9,499, and of course after you put shipping and whatnot into it, it'd probably be about $1,000. It's still, you know, about $3,000 cheaper today than it was back then to buy a bike when you adjust for inflation. And to give another comparison of that cost, the Softail Standard suggested retail is $13,599. Adjusted for $1978, that's $3,400. Just $100 more than what I paid for my Sportster. And so the cost is not the reason people are not, you know, getting into motorcycling or getting into Harley-Davidson. And as you know, I hear people always talk about, well, you know, you can get a better bike through the Japanese, you know, through Honda, Suzuki, and whatnot, you know. You know, they sell their products cheaper than Harley-Davidson, and that's a fallacy too. Because my very first motorcycle, after I learned how to ride on my buddy's Honda CL350, you know, in the summer of '73. Well, in the winter of '74, you know, I was hospitalized for a little bit, and I didn't spend my paycheck all month long, and I had like I had $600 to put down on something. So I went to A1 Cycles there in Killeen, Texas, and bought me a brand new 1973 Suzuki. You know, it was last year's model at the time, but what the heck, you know, it was still brand new on the showroom floor. It was TC 125 Prospector, and I put $600 cash down on it and financed $81. And I did the numbers on that too, you know. And today that would be, you know, that $681 would be $3,758. And I looked at the top four, you know, equivalents that you could probably get. Now the TC model, which I still have. What did I do with that? Oh yeah, I still have the owner's manual for it. Cool, huh? Still have the owner's manual for that thing. But anyways, that TC 125, which I bought new, I was 19 years old. No, I was 18 years old. It was before my 19th birthday. You know, I paid $681 for it. And like I said, in today's dollars, it's $3,758. Now, if you go down to the local Big Four Japanese companies and try to get an equivalent motorcycle as that TC 125, which is, you know, what we call them street and trails then. It's, you know, that's dual sports now. And the close equivalency at Suzuki to that is the DR200S. Now the DR200S, you know, the suggested is $4,649. And so that's $900, you know, basically $910 more than what I paid for, you know, my TC 125. But then you got shipping and handling, and there's other costs, so it's going to be over $5,000. So you go down to the Yamaha shop to find something equivalent, and then the closest thing that you could get to that TC 125 is the Yamaha XT250, and its suggested retail is $51.99 plus shipping and handling, about $54.24. And of course, there's going to be other costs in that when you get it from the dealer. So you know. And then go down to Honda, their equivalency to it, the closest that you can get would be the Honda CRFL 250, which is $51.49, plus shipping and handling would be about $54.79. And Kawasaki, they got something a little bit less expensive, which is the KLX 230, and it goes for $4,599. They didn't put down what the shipping and handling would have been on that. But you know, all those bikes, you know, are anywhere from close to, you know, $900 to, you know, $1,300 more than what, you know, what I paid for my first brand new motorcycle, the TC125. So that's a fallacy, you know, that the Japanese motorcycles are less expensive and for young people to get into motorcycling and such. Of course, Harley-Davidson back in those days did make some smaller bikes, these Italian-made bikes that were imported, and I don't know what the prices of those bikes were. But, you know, that's one fallacy that, you know, that I wanted to deal with. But the truth of the matter is, Harley-Davidson, you know, from the beginning, you know, initially they were making motorcycles at the time when people were about ready to start getting into cars and things like that. Motorcycling at first was, you know, competition for automobiles, you know, for transportation and things like that. But in America, we had the Model T come around, and, you know, people that needed just basic transportation bought a Model T because they were actually, you know, just as cheap, or if not cheaper, than most motorcycles made in the day. And so it's a falsehood that Harley-Davidson prices their bikes too high. And it's a falsehood that it's too expensive for young people to get into motorcycling. Most young people, when they first get into motorcycling, you know, buy used bikes, you know. My first bike I bought new is because I was a single soldier, happened to be sick for a month. I didn't have to pay rent, I didn't have to pay, you know, any type of bills or anything like that. And I didn't, you know, go out and waste my money for a month because I was hospitalized. And when I got out, I had a, you know, big cash, and I was able to lay it down. And I got, you know, bought me a brand new motorcycle, even though it's just a little 125. But it was a pretty good bike for a first motorcycle. But when, you know, later on, my second motorcycle, it was a used motorcycle. And my third motorcycle was a used motorcycle. My fourth motorcycle was a used motorcycle. My fifth motorcycle was the Cervicar, which was a used motorcycle that needed to be fixed up. But my first brand new motorcycle, I was 23 years old before I bought it. And then still, at the time, I was a soldier, a single soldier that didn't have any outcosts, you know, of living out around and about on the regular market, you know. But you know, if people want to get into motorcycling, there's a lot of used motorcycles out there. That's not an excuse. There's some other reason why young people are not getting into motorcycling as my generation did back in the 70s. And the thing about Harley-Davidson being priced too high, well, that's a fallacy too. And the thing that you know, that they've forgotten their core customer's always been people with money. You know, right now, you know, their focus is to get more people into Harley-Davidson brand and things of that sort. And they're, you know, they're looking into the electric motorcycle. The first one was way too much, but it's a great bike. I test drove, and I got a video if you want to see that. But a lot of young people, they're getting into electric bicycles and things of that sort. But most people in America, we're not, you know, a motorcycle culture like in India. You know, in India, people, they choose, you know, they get a motorcycle because it's cheaper than a car, and that's what their main transportation is. You've seen the pictures of people in India with their whole family on a little tiny motorcycle and everything else. And that's where most motorcycles are sold anyways, is in India. Anyways, you know, Harley-Davidson hasn't really abandoned their core customer. Now, they've had to do, you know, a rewire on how they market everything. I still remember the days when I came back from Germany. I went without, you know, I think I told my story about where I had to abandon my Harley over in Germany. And in 1980, when I got back, I went back to college and didn't have the money to, you know, to buy a bike right away. And then when I did have the money, I couldn't find a Harley-Davidson, new or used, to buy. You know, it took, you know, I wound up, you know, buying another street and trail bike there for a while, and then it got me a Yamaha 650 and rode it for, you know, a decade. And you know, it took me a while before, you know, then I raised a family, and even though I stayed in motorcycling, it was all used motorcycles, bang, 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 you know, until I finally, you know, was able to get another Sportster, and I bought that Sportster. That Sportster was a year old. It was secondhand, so, you know, very low mileage, but, you know, I don't know where I'm going with that, but, you know, but Harley-Davidson has I know where I was going with that. Harley-Davidson's always aimed their motorcycle sales to influential people, you know, and, you know, there was a term that came up during the 80s when Harley-Davidson, you know, the motor company bought themselves back, the workers bought the motor company back from AMC. During AMC, a lot of bikes were made, you know, Harley-Davidson overmade them, quality was pretty low and everything. They were good bikes, but the quality was really low. And then when the company, you know, bought back Harley-Davidson, when the workers bought back Harley-Davidson, and they start producing bikes again, you couldn't get a Harley-Davidson, you know? They came out with the Evolution motor, and it's a real good motor, but you go down to the Harley-Davidson shop in, you know, 1985, and you put a deposit down, you might, you know, wait nearly a year, months before you got a bike, you know. Most of the bikes that were on the showroom floor were already sold, and it was hard to get one. And used bikes, the prices of used bikes went way up on Harley, and it was nearly impossible for the average motorcyclist to buy a Harley-Davidson during the 1980s. And the people that had the money to go in, you know, and wait were the, you know, the doctors, the lawyers, the businessmen, you know, the people that were in business for themselves, you know, people that already, you know, had raised their families, you know, their children were, you know, they were becoming empty nesters and things like that. And we came with this evil term, most of us that couldn't afford a Harley-Davidson, you know, it was out of being jealous, you know. So we called them rubs, you know, the rich urban biker. And what Harley-Davidson did during that time, you know, they started marketing, you know, a lifestyle that a lot of people associate with Harley-Davidson, and that's the lifestyle of, you know, the hardcore biker that wears vests and cutoffs, and, you know, wear engineer boots and harness boots, and their blue jeans and leathers and all of that. Well, you know, Harley-Davidson took an idea and marketed, you know, to an idea that Hollywood made up, that what the real true biker was, which started, you know, this marketing campaign. Really, you know, Hollywood made this false idea of who the real bikers were, starting with the Wild One, then all those you know, B movies of the Hells Angels and biker gangs, and, you know, chicks on bikes and things like that. And you know, people in my generation imitated all that, you know. Then Harley-Davidson took that and marketed it and started making clothing to match it and things like that. And people's got this idea of, you know, what a biker is supposed to look like, you know, made a uniform for them and stuff like that. And then when, you know, Harley-Davidson started marketing all that clothing and everything back in the 80s, you know, all of us other motorcycles, we just, you know, and people that, you know, sort of made fun of all these people with the money, you know, trying to look like a biker or whatever it is, you know. We called them rubs. It was an insult, you know. It's like yuppie, you know, young, upper mobility person, or whatever we called them back then. But, you know, motorcycling, that isn't motorcycling. And what Harley-Davidson sells in the image, you know, that isn't really motorcycling. Motorcycling, you know, it engulfs a wide range of people, a wide range of type of riding, you know. But you know, the different groups and tribes and all that, they make fun of each other, you know. People make fun of the BMW riders, the way they dress. Seems like they got a certain uniform. Harley riders got a certain uniform. Adventure riders got a certain uniform, but to me, I say, heck with that. Just get out and ride, okay? And what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? I think that's about it. But you know, the main thing, falsehood. Harley-Davidson priced their bikes too high. That is not true. You know, that is people that, you know, or might be envious that they can't get a Harley. They keep saying that, you know, and you shouldn't be envious, you know, but it's also, you know, people that make other choices for their type of riding, you know, point at her, you know, are trying to categorize the different types of motorcyclists and riders and bikers or whatever, you know, into their own little camps and things like that. That doesn't work either. But some of that controversy going back and forth and everything now, it probably is what keeps a lot of young people out of motorcycling, you know, because it, yeah, you get a young person, he's working at Walmart, you know, working overnights, you know, doing stock or something like that, and he goes out and he, you know, saves up his money and he buys him an old beat up Honda that's 15 years old, and he fixes it up. You know, he might make it in, you know, into a bobber or a cafe racer or something like that. And then, you know, he pulls up to the corner and then some rub comes up on their brand new street line, looks at the guy, makes a comment about, you know, puts the guy down and everything. And bad thing is that rub might not have gotten his first motorcycle until he was in his 40s. And it's, you know, or it could be that squid. Ah, that's a word. I'm not sure what a squid is. I think it's the guy on the sport bikes that go around and act like hooligans and things like that. And, but anyways, you know, it could be those type of guys, you know. This idea of what a real biker is, it's a false idea, you know. Motorcycling is supposed to be fun. It is a sport. It doesn't really matter what you ride, but it's the matter that you do ride. So get out there and have a great day. And I hope that it warms up a little bit. It was in the 20s here a little bit ago, but I might push old red out here and take a ride. But anyways, I just wanted to address the fallacies. The fallacies that two things: Harley-Davidson priced their bikes too high. False. Harley-Davidson has forgotten their core customers. False. You know, people with money will be able to get the better toys. Don't be jealous of it, right? And if you're the guy that's able to afford the better toys, good for you, you know. Anyways, everybody have a blessed day. Hippie Biker here, the Sullivan, signing off. Oh, by the way, if you like this video, hit like. Don't forget to share and subscribe. Bye-bye.